Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and our year to shine, and happy spring. We're in a new season now. We're going to continue tonight our discussion on Brene Brown's book, The Gift of Imperfection. We are on to guidepost number 5 tonight, and it's about cultivating intuition and trusting faith. So what do we have to do in that case? We have to let go of certainty. Warning for the control freaks out there. As I turned the page and saw this one again, I was thinking about how much crossover there's been in all the books that we've been exploring, because intuition and faith have been a part of most of them, right? Maybe in the Madly in Love with Me book, there was the least amount of that. But yeah, we've talked a lot about intuition. So hopefully you have a good sense of that. But again, Brene always has her own little definitions and insight on things. And she makes a good point that sometimes when you're really out of touch with your own sort of knower, I've mentioned that before, then you may find yourself really asking a lot of people, like surveying, she called it, for advice if you're really trying to make a decision and you're not sitting with that decision. She makes also another very good point, because I personally tend to be someone that like leaps for things, and I probably don't weigh all the pros and cons. But she makes a good point that if you are too afraid to sit down and weigh those things out, or make a plan, or have a budget, or something like that, that it's probably not a good idea. So in order to make a wise decision, she encourages us to really sit with it, see how we feel, and she mentions the trusting your gut, which it seems like a lot of spiritual teachers mention that. But again, you might be so out of touch with that if you really are not used to really trusting intuition. I've shared before, I feel like I'm fairly intuitive, but it makes life harder for me in some respects, because I have literally had visions of things, and then when the life that I'm seeing is not turning out that way, then it makes me question, like, did I just come up with that in my head? Like, was that not really real? It felt so real, and it wasn't like I was trying to imagine it. It just came to me. Was that one possibility? Yeah, that's what she gets into here with faith. And again, that would be my need for grasping onto some sort of certainty, I suppose, too. If it's like I had this knowing of something, and then but it didn't turn out that way, that to me would feel like uncertainty, right? And I wouldn't be comfortable with that. So maybe, if you want to psychoanalyze it, maybe those visions that I've had are based more in my need for knowing what's ahead. I don't know, I never thought about it until just that moment when I said that. So we've heard the term faith. We probably know what that is. But she has her definition. Faith is a place of mystery where we find the courage to believe in what we cannot see and the strength to let go of our fear of uncertainty. So having faith in something, a part of it is being like, I don't have the answer. I'm okay with the uncertainty of it. And this discussion about faith versus logic, or I suppose some people could say science, is interesting, because I hadn't really thought about what she says in terms of sometimes people that are very faith-based, they hold so closely to, like, this is right and this is for certain the way that God or whatever their belief system is said it was, and so this is how it is, when unless they have like a personal connection and auditory visual sort of communication with the other side, then we won't know till we're all on the other side. So it's interesting that faith from Brene's standpoint has to embrace some uncertainty, and she does feel like on the flip side, the science or the logic end of things, there are a lot of hypotheses and there are things that are trying to be proven, and they could turn out one way or the other. So it seems like you would think that the faith people would not be so strict in what they know, because they're sort of believing in something that they can't necessarily prove, whereas logic or science, they might have an idea of something, but then they're trying to prove it. I don't know. She just framed it in a different way than I ever thought of. And I forgot to read the intuition definition. So let me read Lori, oh my goodness, I'm in the wrong book. Brene's intuition definition. Intuition is not a single way of knowing. It is our ability to hold space for uncertainty and our willingness to trust the many ways we've developed knowledge and insight, including instinct, experience, faith, and reason. And so, you know how she was saying trust your gut, and that if you couldn't sit down and actually have a logical conversation with yourself or map things out on paper, then it might not be good. She is pulling all of the ways that you know something to feel right and seem right, which could include a bit of logic in that intuition part, which is interesting because I think intuition and faith, I've always sort of thought of them as the same thing. And actually, in both cases, she did say that you have to have a willingness to give up the uncertainty. Because even with your intuition, you could be taking a leap. They call it a leap of faith, right? And you don't know how it's going to turn out. You might think, just like I said, what if I had a vision of something and then I went for it? Then maybe it didn't turn out that way. Maybe I saw one tiny possibility of the infinite ways that something could turn out. I don't know. There's a lot to say with this. So I want to just read a little bit of her dig deep too. Letting go of uncertainty is one of the greatest challenges and she also says, like, for her, she quotes, not knowing, it's anxiety provoking and like it brings on fear and vulnerability. So she says, that's when I have to get very quiet and still. With my kids and my busy life, that can mean hiding in the garage or driving around the block, whatever it takes. I have to find a way to be still so that I can hear what I'm saying. I can relate to that because I think I've told you before that I love my quiet time where I'm journaling and I might be on the water or watching birds or snuggling with Annabelle. And those are the times that I feel like I can make decisions and really weigh out how I'm doing. So I think there's an important part of being quiet and really getting still and having a conversation with yourself. We did talk about that actually in the Madly in Love with Me book. When I'm really scared or unsure, Brene says, I need something right away to calm my cravings for uncertainty. And for me, guess what it is? Again, how many times have we had this? The Serenity Prayer. And I'm going to read it because every time I say it wrong. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I can't even believe how many books have had that in there. And I can't believe how I don't have it ingrained in my memory yet. But I do get the gist of it every time we talk about it. So think about how you might be framing your own intuition and faith, and what comes up when you think about letting go of that uncertain feeling. Or actually, it's almost like it was letting go of certainty. So it's embracing the uncertainty, or I guess not necessarily embracing, but at least accepting it. And realizing that that is a part of being someone here on earth, and not being able to control everything that happens. And with the Serenity Prayer, knowing the difference between what you can do and what you can't do. So that's the discussion on guidepost number 5. I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and welcome to some new subscribers. Nice to see you guys. Say hello. I love hearing from you. Have a good night. Bye-bye.